and welcome to DM Talks, where we will distill an important DM concept, thinking in scenarios. That is, trying to foresee what will happen next and prepare for it. It's much harder than it sounds, but it's not that difficult. You can learn it, I promise. So let's get down to it. This game will be interesting, and we will have a critical moment where you really have to think sort of abstract chess thinking. So are you ready for that? Yes, let's roll. We are in Sweden. Edvin Trost is his name, against Thomas Ernst. And by the way, Ernst is the grandmaster here, even though his rating is down to 2300. He was a famous theoretician in the 90s, but nowadays he's a 2300 player, and his problem is he doesn't really understand structures, to be honest. That's he's very dangerous when he gets something tactical. He has some sort of skill for dynamics, but where to put the pawns is never really something he was good at. Sorry, Thomas. He is black against Trost, who's a talented young Swedish guy, I think 18 and 2462. He won the tournament in very convincingly 7.5 out of 8. This is the Ray Lopez or Spanish opening, and this is the open Spanish. This is one of the serious line in the Spanish or the Ray Lopez. I don't think white really can get a big edge here, but I would probably rather be white. I have tried it a few times with black. It doesn't really feel comfortable. Anyway, let's get on to it. And this is sort of the main starting point in the open Spanish or Ray Lopez. White has a lot of options here. He can play Bishop E3, you can play C3, which he does in the game. You can play Knight BD2. You can play Queen E2. Was also a very big major main line years ago. Anyway, this is an interesting position. White has a pawn here that might be weak, might be strong. Black has a knight here that might get into trouble, but could also be very dynamic. Both players have sort of easy development, and white has a majority on the king side, black has a majority on the queen side, and well, it's complicated, interesting positional stuff. Usually black cannot win the e-pawn because of some tactics. Okay, let's get it. C3 and Bishop C5 is the main opening for at the moment for black. In the old days, they also put the bishop here to keep the square C3 for the knight. I believe that this is the best move. Castle, and the knight here is annoying, and taking here has more or less been analyzed out to a draw. So I think you have to play something else. He played Bishop C2. This is the main starting position. Black has 3 options here. He can play knight takes f2, which looks ridiculous but is not bad. And this is, I think, was recommended by Michalewski in his book on the open Spanish. He's a big expert. By the way, it's a funny thing that he wrote the book about the open Spanish, and in order not to stop playing it with black, and then he started playing different things, but he didn't have very good results. So after some time, he returned to the open Spanish, even though he sort of had given everything he had in the book and had given it up. It's a typical thing that you sort of have learned something perfectly. Knight takes f2 is a serious option. f5 does not have the best reputation, but is also a serious option. And then there's bishop f5, which is the old main line. I remember a game, Karpov versus Yusupov, that Yusupov analyzed in one of the Dvoretsky books. It was a very instructive game. It made a big impression on me. I think I have shown the game here on GM Talks. knight b3. We are fighting over the central squares, especially d4, which is under white's control. White is hoping to play something like this and f3, making black having serious problems with these pieces here. Black start by vacating the bishop to g6. Looks very weird, but it turns out you cannot win anything. If you take here, you just take back with the pawn, and knight takes, queen takes, e takes f3, and e5 is also hanging, and so on. So it's not winning any material. So main line is knight here to d4. Again, following the plan, you can't take on e5, then you're just going to lose. Bishop takes e4, I think, is just winning a piece, and this is a serious threat now. So black has to take, which was not really the intention after playing bishop c5, but black is hoping for activity. And here the main line is c takes d4, a5, which looks really weird but f3 is bad because of a4, and black has good pieces here. The knight is trapped, and if you move it, then he will exchange, and black will have good pieces. This might end up bad. But instead, knight takes d4 looks like a decent move, and you can't take on e5 due to f4, f5, which would be very unpleasant. So queen d7, just getting ready to move the knight, defending here on c6. And he takes, and bishop e3. White has the bishop pair. Black has active pieces. I think white is slightly better, but it's not much. Bishop b3, again trying to annoy. Queen d4, f3, c5. This is all forced. The knight is now in some sort of a problem, so it has to move. And c4, and knight f6. There's a little tactic here. Very typical Thomas, he sees these kind of tactics very easily. The thing is, he was forced to make these pawns immobile here, which was not the intention. Bishop d4, knight d7, f4, take, and f5 looks also natural. I think maybe, I don't know if you can play f6 now, you can play f6, and rook a1. Here white is of course better, he has a weak pawn, but if this knight was ever to land on a good square, black would be fine here. So white is first of all aiming to put a lot of pressure on the d file. There's also plans with h3, g4, but that does weaken the king. Okay, rook c8, natural move, but I'm not sure I like it. I think black has to, of course, defend the pawn somehow, but he also has to find a way for the knight to get into the game. Of course, you would prefer to have it here or here, but if that's not possible, somewhere else. He plays this move, and rook c6, rook d2, and knight c5. And of course, white takes this knight, because if it's allowed here or here, then this bishop would be bad, and suddenly it's black. He has no problem with the d5, and black is already clearly better. So you have to take. But this is also not the best of positions for white. He has a protected pass pawn, and pressure against d5, and the potential better king. By the way, this is the position where you have to look in scenarios. You have to ask yourself, how is this going to play out? What's going to happen here? How can white play? How can black play? Well, black's plan could be, in general, something with a5, b4, even though it really doesn't do anything. But it may actually make the rook stand here safely. At the moment, you can't win the pawn. Of course, you would love to win the pawn on d5, but queen f3 is just defended by rook d8. Another plan for white is to set the d-pawn in motion, that is to play d4. An even better option is to open the position for the rooks, because you have the better king. And how do you do that? Well, we're going to see that. But we can see that the king here is not in the best place. So here white played a nice little move, ace3. It could be preparation for d4, but mostly it's a preparation to get the king out of the way. Get the king out of the way. Here, there's no checks. It will take a long time to generate threats against a king on h2. So h3, king h2, improving the position of the king before the action starts. That is the moment. And apparently, Thomas has no idea what's going on. So here he played g6, which is a gigantic fundamental mistake. Why is that? Well, first of all, now the king is forever bad. It looks natural. I put all the pieces on white. I have a blockading position. The problem is when the blockades drops, you're gonna have a very soft belly down here. So this guy is now in serious trouble. Wherever you can put it wherever you want on the board, it will not be safe. So g6 is a giant mistake. So what should you play instead? Of course you should try to mimic white. Play h6, king h7. Your king will, mostly due to this, will still not be safe on h7. It's not fantastic in any way for black, but h6 and king h7 is giving you chances to survive. So here black had to prepare for the scenario that the position would open and he will have to evacuate the king, get the king out of the way. So also, but he probably didn't see how white was going to do this. So he played g6 and white played king h2, king is out of the way, king g7, okay, and he's on, okay, we're just improving the position and let's take a draw. And then came a rather nasty move, b4, oosh, and attacking the rook. If the rook moves, of course, you lose this immediately, and due to all the weaknesses, you're just totally lost. So he has to take, but still, b4 is coming, this one is dropping, you can lose the whole queen side, it doesn't matter. This guy here will not survive to live a very long life. It will not, if it have a pension, it won't be able to use it. So, and he takes, and already we see that that there are a serious threat. There's here, here, and queen is coming, or queen is coming this way, could be whatever way, and guy here is in serious trouble. Black panics completely and plays d5. There is no good moves here. This position is just objectively lost. You have a bad king. A bad king sounds like a disease, some sort of sexual transmitted disease, but it is just that your king will never be safe anywhere. And if you have a bad king, well, of course, white will not exchange anything unless it wins. So g5 and check here, tries to escape. He didn't allow this, but the king can. But white just wins by force by check here, take, and check. And black actually resigned here. The thing is, he's losing the queen. If he goes here, then rook d7. If he goes here, then rook d6. So he just losing. So, but let's go back. Here, white sees that, okay, I can open the position on the queen side. Just giving up the pawns to get rid of this pawn, liberate the rooks. So what do I do first? I prepare the king to be totally safe on h2. Black didn't see what was going on. King h2, king d7, and b4, and game over. So very nice game by Edvin Trost, and an excellent example of how to analyze scenarios. So you have to think a little bit ahead and say, also sometimes when you move a pawn, you realize, oh no, now I'm in Zugzwang in the endgame. So you have to look at these scenarios if you want to raise your level to GM level. Skills to GM. Anyway, and thank you for watching. I'm back. I was on vacation in Tanzania, as they say. In Denmark, we always called it Tanzania, but in Tanzania, they said Tanzania. So I guess that's correct. You have to respect the name from the locals. And it was very nice. So Jambo and Hakuna Matata. See you later. Another video will hopefully come shortly. Thank you for watching.